So we started systematically drawing on our reserves to balance the budget following the renegotiation of the VAT sharing agreement with the UK in 2012. The plan then was that this situation would be phased out over 3 years as departments cut budgets, but of course 14 years later spending is still consistently higher than income, and we're regularly drawing down over 100 million a year from reserves. In 2026 the figure was 54% more than predicted, and all that time we've heard the same unrealistic rhetoric over viable plans to reduce costs and that we have no other choice. Isle of Man government is using the interest on our reserves, which should be compounding to keep pace with inflation, to pay for permanent and rising day-to-day costs. Right now we're essentially gambling future prosperity on market performance and theoretical increases in GDP, while ignoring inevitable cost increases. We do not benefit from economies of scale, and we have to accept certain inevitably higher costs. We're not a sovereign nation, so we do not have the option to print more money to cover budget deficits. If the presumed increases in GDP and/or reductions in costs do not materialise, as claimed, something's definitely going to give. The NI fund is currently forecast to run dry within 25 years, and if that happens, we're looking at significant financial readjustments. All promises on pensions, social care and every other service will be at risk if this is not addressed, no matter who's in charge at the time, because there is no magic wand. We'll be forced to pay pensions from general revenue, increase general taxation, face significant reductions in services and potentially end up borrowing to pay bills, any of which could have spiralling negative impacts. This is not just a matter of opinion cooked up for electioneering purposes. This forecast has been repeated numerous times by Isle of Man government's own senior financial officers, and yet it never seems to be part of the political debate. Why is this massive elephant in the room never discussed? Why is the problem always presented as a no-choice situation? Clearly it's because there's no true political debate and no real agency in Manx politics. The fact is there are choices, we're just never offered them. Nobody wants to pay more tax, especially when we have no say over how it's spent. There's a perception that the money is not being used efficiently and the level of service is actually falling. It's very easy to say that costs should be reduced or that we should take a scythe to the government workforce, but that brings us right back to another core problem. There's currently no clear picture of what Isle of Man government actually is or how it really operates. The evidence is clear. Unless we address the issue of agency and accountability, we're going to keep going in the same disastrous direction. True political debate is effectively impossible on the Isle of Man due to the structure of government itself, hence this continual presentation of the no-choice situation. Beyond this, even if we could agree a financial solution, we're then basically dealing with a massive knot of systems and connections which has evolved and been chopped around over a very long period of time, and which no single person fully understands or commands. Who actually provides, underpins or maintains which services? Who decides where we start cutting? Which services are we happy to sacrifice or outsource? What do we want to pay for by taxes and fees? If we start scything and find we've chopped our own feet off, what then? This is precisely why the assessment and the reset has to be an all-encompassing process right across a fully unified single entity government. Any other approach is folly, as the last 14 years have proven. How long do we want to keep failing? We already spend significantly less per capita on public services than countries with comparably high standards of living. Even with significant improvements in efficiency, it's highly unlikely the Isle of Man is going to be able to maintain standards based on current or reduced spend per capita. At the very least, we should be clearly requesting and publishing much more detailed proof of return data on the indirect benefits of ideas like the tax cap. If it's working as advertised, we need to see evidence, actual numbers employed at which tax rates, investments made, etc. If not, it needs to be adjusted and or become variable. We should be welcoming people to come here and invest, but it has to be seen to be a two-way street. Our community can offer unparalleled security, stability and opportunity. Investors should be proud to come and tell us what they want to achieve for the community and for themselves, how they want to do it, and what they're offering in return. It should be a win-win. Taxes have to reflect the true value of the Isle of Man to those who can afford it. At the moment, it feels like we're underselling ourselves, but it's difficult to say when there's perceived to be so much waste and nothing the public can do to influence the outcome either way. This has to be an open debate. We have to be clear. We have to have a clear agreement on what we're getting for our money before anything will change for the better. If we keep our heads in the sand, the consequences could be dire. The current system of government has proven itself to be incapable of addressing this equitably and transparently for more than a decade. The longer we ignore it, the worse it gets.